Through and you're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Every Point's a Winner. Welcome to Every Point's a Winner. We are live here in the studio, here in the Southern Districts, and let me tell you, it was extremely hard game to call from the TV. The TV is about 5 to 10 meters away from me, and even the cameramen were getting drenched and had spots all over the camera lens. And I do apologise for actually calling Hudson Young as one of the try scorers there. He's identical, the lookalike went over instead, Crichton. But I made a statement on the website there that you can check it out, how I made that mistake. And then when I went to check the try scorers and all the stats, we had a total freezing in my phone, and also the computer would not get onto the NRL.com website. So a few technical issues, but we got through. And the best thing about it, the two tips we gave you here, Steve Crichton as the New South Wales try scorer, he went over, fantastic strength. He's done that for Canterbury many times. And we got him up at 3-1. And we also had the hammer. We didn't have him going over for 2 tries, but we had him going over for 1 at $2.50. So really good value there. Unfortunately, we didn't get Hudson Young, which was $5. But anyway, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. What's that song? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Okay. Tonight's only game for the round 16. It's the West Tigers running 13th against the second place Raiders, and it is at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. It looks like it's going to be we had a little bit of moisture. There will be a few handling errors, but looking at the after all the chemtrails yesterday, it was amazing, the sky, and it was spreading out into the clouds, and I thought, we may have a rainy weekend, but thank God, at the moment it is clear. It's going to be cold out of Campbelltown. Make sure you wear your jackets like me, and keep warm. Put your earmuffs on, and get ready for an interesting game. On paper, it's $1.35 Canberra Raiders over 320 Tigers. You would have to say it could be 13 plus straight off the bat. But the Thursday and Friday games can always lead to massive upsets. This I can't see being an upset, but let's have a look at the team list nonetheless. Ins and outs. Alex Twal is in with Fanua PARLAY for the Tigers, and Talon De Silva, really good replacement, and Subby is in there for the Tigers. Outs is the 2 Lilies. I think one of them played in the under-19 State of Origin last night. Looking at the ins and outs for Canberra here, Chevy Stewart finally getting a run on the wing, I think, for Canberra. Chevy Stewart. Oh, hang on. Yeah, it's Jed Stewart on the wing for Canberra, and Chevy Stewart is also getting a run, but it's not the same spelling. So one of them is Ricky's kid, and I'd imagine it'd be Jed. And out is Savello Tamale. So that's a big loss for Canberra there. Apart from that, they've got strength all over the park, and I'd imagine our try scorer that we had the other night, Hudson Young, will be playing hard. He didn't get as much time as what I thought he should, and they seem to have him in the wrong position, a little bit like Jackson Purdue playing for the Cowboys in the wrong position. So he just didn't get to run just off the edges. I think that's where they needed him, and he just kept on hitting up. And he's not a massive forward, but he's fast, he's agile, and he's very, very good. He's very, very talented, but he just didn't seem to get the breaks the other night in the Origin. As for Ashley Klein's refereeing, I'd be happy for him not to get the third game, especially in Sydney. But somehow, I think he's the NRL's pretty boy. Whether it's pretty boy or not, or he just seems to be a guy that gets all the top games. Usually he puts his whistle away, but that penalty count was quite disgraceful. Some of them were deserved so, but some of them were just awful and put New South Wales on the back foot. But we won't go over that. Congratulations for the playoff. I was an inch from tipping Queensland, and that's why we have the purple and maroon colours going off in the background there, celebrating their second Origin win. Tonight's referee is Adam G. So I'm sure we're going to see some, I would imagine Casey Badger is in the bunker, so be careful. If you've got a try and they're taking a bit of time to give it, I'm sure she'll want to hear her voice. And nothing personal against her, but she does love hearing her voice describing how and why they're not going to give most of these tries that are 50-50 a try. So just looking at the matchups here, Buller and KO Weeks, Jed Stewart is against Taruva. That might be a little bit of a lesson there for Ricky's son. Matthew Timoko up against Adam Dewey. And then you have Stafford Tower, who's been playing out of his skin, even though West have been just going down. He had a big game against Penrith recently. Then we got Sebastian Chris, hasn't gone over for quite a while, up against Stafford Tower. But then you have Savage in the centres. Savage is playing centre. That's interesting. Bit of a shuffle up here. Oh, no, he's playing wing. There you go. Savage is playing wing. And Gerald Skilton on the wing. He's a player that's I've always had a liking for, and he's got us quite a few anytime try scorers. Heath Mason up against Ethan Strange. God, Ethan Strange has killed us with the ATTS recently. I had him for about 3 weeks in a row. Never looked like scoring. And the 2 weeks I let him go, which were the last 2 times Canberra played, I think he scored doubles on both of them. So, and really good odds around 9-2, 4-1. So that really hurt us. But we might entertain him again, hopefully. Gerald Fogarty is back up against Luai, who had a hot and cold game. A couple of bad kicks from Luai in the second Origin, I felt. And then Terrell May, he's had a bit of a shabby couple of games. I think he needs to stand up here. And he's going to need to, because there's some big boys he's up against. Tom Starling, an outstanding player, up and coming. Joseph Tarpany, he's the captain. And hasn't he been fantastic over the duration of the last 4 or 5 rounds? Corey Horsburgh up against 12. And, of course, your Owen Paddy, the interchange. Probably didn't get enough time last time. We did entertain him for any time try scorer. Sasagi, I'd like to see him get a bit more time too. So it looks like Sasagi is in the interchange, and they're moving Savage to the wing with KO Weeks at fullback. So, yeah, they've had to do a bit of shuffling around, so that threw me off a bit. But I honestly can't see West Tigers winning this one. I think it may be tight for some time, but I think the class will rise like the cream to the top. So let's put in Canberra here, at least 1-12. I wouldn't laugh at you if you wanted to back your first game up here with a 13 plus for Canberra, as that once they turn it on, they can really, really turn it on. But I think West Tigers will play fairly well for most of this match. And I need a big game from Abby Coruscant and Terrell May to prove my point. Alex Seafarth, yeah, he's up against Hosking. Hosking has been playing out of his skin. So, okay, let's go for anytime try scorers here. We'll just have a look at the value on the TAB. Open that page and go to the NRL value here. I better log on so we can have a look here. And NRL, it's 3.30 now, the Tigers, head-to-head, and $1.34 Canberra. They're 10 points in front of West Tigers. That's how far they're in front. Canberra just behind the Bulldogs. Last time they played in round 16, it was 48-24 to the Tigers. Massive upset there at Campbelltown. I don't think that's going to play out again somehow. If it did, well, I think it'd knock out nearly every tipster in game 1 of 7 if it repeated like that score last year. Xavier Savage has come up as the shortest at $1.70. And just remember he's playing on the wing. Jed Stewart $1.80 on debut, of course. Chevy Stewart with a STEWART $1.80. Gerald Skelton $2. Just having a look here. Okay. I'm still on. Okay. 10 minutes in. Hudson Young, 240. Geez, he's got a bit skinnier there. Jareem Buller, 260. Stafford Tuss, still fairly good odds at 275. Let's I don't want to stand out Ethan Strange. He's going for 3 games in a row where he may go over, but I really don't want to stand him out. But it's great value if you do. And we can't stand out Simi Sasagi, who's been scoring the last 2 times as well. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to stand out a forward here for Canberra. Tom Starling at $4. That's phenomenal value. He's my first banker. And for security, we're going to stick in Stafford Toa as the second banker for West Tigers at 275 because he's just a consistent, prolific try scorer. Then we're going to go one for the Tigers, Jareem Buller, 260. Then head back, of course, to Hutto Young. We thought he got us a treble on Wednesday, but he didn't. His lookalike scored, Angus Crichton. 240, Hudson Young is the third leg there. KO Wicks, 220. We're going to swallow that up. And if you want to, you could chuck in for the 5th leg, Xavier Savage at $1.70, but that's going to half a lot of your value. Last week I had Timoko and he let us down. Do we go back to Chris or Timoko here? If you've got a bit of spare money from Wednesday like I have, put in Timoko and Sebastian Chris as your 5th leg there. I'm hanging back from Strange and Sasagi, but don't be surprised if they also score. We better move on to the second match before we get logged down too much on tonight's match. Let's go back and have a look at the next match, which is tomorrow in New Zealand, in the Warriors' homeland there. They're running third on the load of the Warriors. They're $1.22. You couldn't get much skinnier than that unless you were backing Farlap in the 1940s there. 122, 430 Penrith. Well, obviously they're not flying, and I think Claire is a bit lame at the moment as well. They're not flying a lot of those 5 or 6 players that were missing for the Origin. Let's have a look at the teams as they stand as we go to the NRL website and go back a page. And that'll be 3 o'clock, so make sure that doesn't get under your guard, guys. If you're out doing your shopping, make sure you get back and put your bets on. And if you're like me, you'll at least give yourself 45 minutes before you put your anytime try score parlays on. So let's have a look at the team list, ins and outs. Dane Laurie out, Jack Cole out, Liam Henry for Penrith, Eisenhuth out, Paul Alamonte. This is a massive list. Hang on, Brian To'o, Dylan Edwards, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Nathan Cleary, all out. In is Eisenhuth, Alamonte, Talo, Liam Henry, Cole, and Laurie. Ins for Warriors, Edward Cossey, Graham Tolfer, Wade Egan. That's a great inclusion there. Great inclusion. Outs is Capewell and Tane Tupiki. Oh, I really like Tane Tupiki. He reminds me of a KO Wicks. I just think he's like a little whippet. It's so hard to stop close to the line when everyone else is gassed. Okay, let's get out of that page and have a look at some of the matchups here. Why won't that move forward? Thank you. So, and Nickel Clockstad has been playing out of his skin lately. He's up against Dane Laurie at fullback. And then you have Watani Zalesny, who's gone over a couple of times now, up against Thomas Jenkins, who got nearly 3 tries, I think, last time Penrith played. Then you got Isaac Targo against Pompey, who's been hot and cold for us in the anytime try scorers. The times we've had him, he's let us down, but it happens. But you can't stay too loyal if they don't go over, and you've had him for 4 weeks in a row. So we'll be asking questions about him. Tuivasa Sheck on the wing against Alamonte. That's a good matchup. And then you've got Harris Tavita, who's been playing phenomenally for the last 2 or 3 matches against Blaze Talungi. And then Metcalf, one of my favourite players, against Brad Schneider. That's a bit of a mismatch for mine. I think Metcalf will run rings around Schneider, but he is a fairly experienced player, Schneider. And then Mitch Kenny is the captain here against Wade Egan. Well, I really like Wade. I think he's a star player. Interchanges. I'm just looking at Clarkie's, and they've still got some great forwards. Jacob Laban, and my favourite player who scores for us every time we play, Lika Halasima, up against Scott Sorensen. So Sorensen will need to mark him very, very closely. Then we have Tiari Martin as the first interchange with Tolo for Penrith. And then we have for New Zealand, Jackson Ford. He's been playing so well lately. Vaiamunga, another big monster. And it looks like Stower Smith, another giant for New Zealand. Trent Tolo, Liam Henry, second interchange, third interchange, Patea and Luke Garner, who is a hot and cold player. But at the head-to-head, it is $1.24 and $4.10 on the sports bet there. So let's go back to the TAB and go straight to the anytime try scorer and get this happening quickly. I think Warriors here, I will honestly tip Warriors here 13 plus. I can see a lot of tries being scored. I really can't see Penrith holding them out in defence, even though they've got some great defenders there in Mitch Kenny and Sorensen. I just think they're going to throw the ball around like a hot potato. I do ask you before you put your bets on to make sure, because this is in New Zealand, it can be very inclement weather, but the inclement weather does suit New Zealand anyway. Last time it was quite torrential there, and they didn't care. They just threw the ball around really, really well, and great handling and completion rates. Charles Little Clodstag at 275 there. Zalesny leads up the favouritism here at $1.60. That's too skinny for us. And Roger, two of us, second $1.65. We might come back to them and chuck them in for a 5th or 6th leg, but we need to find value for our standouts here. Our banker, Paul Alamotti, is probably the best price you'll see for some time at $2.50. But I'm not tipping Penrith, so I'd like to lead. It's not impossible that we lead with Penrith, but I'd rather, since I'm tipping Warriors at 13 plus here, I would prefer to lead with them. Let's have a look here. Edward Cossey at $1.75. I will not give you odds on. I'll only give you value here at every point's a winner, because that's what we're about, is finding value for the small punters. So you people that love the NRL as much as we do. Isaiah Papali'i is a good price there, but how much time is he going to get? Jack Cole 550. That's not impossible. Jackson Ford 6-1, but he hasn't scored this year. He's been so close. Moses Leota hasn't gone over either. Luke Summerton, Liam Henry, they're all questionable, but they're good odds. Wade Egan, he's got to be knocking on the door to score very, very soon. I'm just glad he's back in this side. Okay, let's quickly have a look here, and we're going to stand out Lika Halasima, even though he's not going to get the full game. I think when he comes on, he's going to be lethal. Lika Halasima as our banker there. Yes, it's a risk standing out a guy that might only play for 60 of the 80 minutes in two sections, but he seems like he's getting better with every game. So and he's in front of his home crowd again. Lika Halasima, $3 there, good value. Just for security, we're going to put in Luke Metcalf there at 225 as your second banker. Then we're going to throw it over to Charles Nickel-Clockstad, 275 at fullback there. And then for our third leg, we need to chuck in some Penrith boys here. I really think we do. Let's chuck in Jack Cole for our fourth leg at 550. He went over a couple of games ago. For our fifth leg, I want to chuck in Isaiah Papali'i, a giant. How much time he'll get, I don't know, 5-1. And our sixth leg, as an emergency, I'm really hoping to get the incredible value here with Wade Egan. So that's the second game wrapped up there, and I'd be starting Warriors at 13+. But if Penrith win, it's going to be an almighty upset in front of the Warriors' home crowd there, and I just don't think they're playing well enough. Yes, they've got a good defensive team there, and the young kid Jenkins is playing really well. I think they call him Milky or something like that. But his nickname. But Milky, I don't think he's going to get the chance he gets, or he got the last couple of games. So Milky Jenkins, I think they. All right, let's move across to the second match there. The third match, so we can ruffle on through this, and let's have a look and see who it is. Going back to the NRL here. It is. The second game tomorrow is at 5:30. It's Dolphins and Newcastle. Oh, dear. Dolphins, $1.26. Just about as skinny as the Warriors up against Penrith. Newcastle, $3.90. And this will be up at Suncorp, I would imagine. Let's have a quick look at that. Oh, no, they're going to Perth. Okay, now I know why a few of the commentators on the radio were staying over there. So in Perth, the Knights are running 15th and blew a game that they shouldn't have lost last weekend against East, and Dolphins coming off a thrashing over the Cowboys. That was something else. Let's have a look at the team list and see who's in and out. It's Oblix Toa is in for Dolphins. Tabuai for Doe backing it up. He might be a bit stiff. Harrison Graham, Pete Holler, and Trey Fuller is back. Another guy that's been on the sideline for the whole year. So let's see how he goes. He's been an outstanding player playing in fullback there last year. Out is Felice Kafusi with that suspension. Brock Graham and Mason Teague is both out for the Knights. But in is Tyson Frizzell, Kalen Ponga, Jack Headington, Fletcher Sharp is back. That's a big addition. I think that's who they missed last week. I'd say had he been playing for the Knights last week, they would have held on against East. Dominic Young is getting his first run coming on the bus from East and not leaving the ground. Phenomenal. Bradman Best is back. So that's a great inclusion for the Knights. But he needs to get the ball more. You've got to feed someone like that the ball more, give him more space to breathe. Don't keep on going to the opposite side of where Best is playing. He's a lethal player. Whether he's a bit tentative after pulling the hamstring again is questionable, but they wouldn't be putting him in there unless he's right to go. So that may be interesting for our anytime try scorer picking here. So it's Fado against Ponga, really good matchup there. Osako against Young, Gagai against Avarillo. Avarillo's moved from fullback back to the centre, right next to Herbie Farnworth. Bradman Best is up against Farnworth. This is a really good matchup. Last time, I think if we have a look at it, the Knights won, and they also beat them in last year as they were both heading for the 8th position. And that was an amazing win for the Knights. Wolfie, outstanding coach. Adam O'Brien, well, he's done what he could with some of the injuries he's had. He hasn't fully convinced me this year. I think they've got him for another year. The Knights. Ponga, interesting game he had in the State of Origin. I'd like to see him lift here. He's got some of his supporting players back here that could really cause some carnage for the Dolphins, but the side on paper just looks too strong for me. As long as they don't get cocky, the Dolphins, but Knights have always had a little bit of wood over them. I'm not going to tip an upset here for the Knights, especially in Perth, but don't be surprised because there's enough of those good players if it all goes right for them. Just their completion rates and some of the dead spots they've had in their games. It really is going to come down to ball handling again. If whoever can hold the ball for longest, and that makes sense in general, but Knights are pathetic once they can't handle the ball. It all goes pear-shaped for them. So if you want to take the 420 head-to-head, it's up to you, but $1.28, that's a little bit skinny for the Dolphins anyway. But we're interested in anytime try scorers here. The captain is Isaiah Katala is the captain here for the Dolphins. Very interesting. And Ponga, the captain of the Knights. Let's go across to the anytime try scorers. And that game is 5:30, so in the twilight there of the day. Hang on, well, that's Perth. That's 4 hours ahead. No, that's probably going to, I don't know how it works out time-wise, but we're going to be listening to it at 5:30 on the radio and then watching a full replay the following day to do our form. Okay, let's have a look here and go straight to anytime try scorer. Last time they met, it was 26-12 in round 2. That was when the Knights started to play, started the whole season off quite well, and then they just capitulated after that. To score a try here, Jack Bostock is leading the market at $1.75. Max Figay or Fane is $1.75. Oblix Toss $1.75 on debut. Jamin Osako $1.80. Let's have a look here. Habiwai Fado $1.85. Well, we got him $2.50 in the Origin. Are you willing to take $1.85? I guess we can link him up with one of our value try scorers here. Jake Everett is nice and juicy at $2.75. So is Fletcher Sharp. Cody Nicarima $3.25. He hasn't let us down. Connolly Lemuelu would have put cream on top of the cake last week, but a couple of the other forwards scored in the thrashing of the Dolphins over the Cowboys. Let's chuck in Cody Nicarima as our banker again. He hasn't let us down for 3 weeks in a row. Cody Nicarima as our banker at $3.25. Fantastic. Fletcher Sharp as our second banker for Newcastle Knights at 3-1 there. Our third banker, Jake Averell, $2.75. Herbie Farnworth, still good value there. Herbie Farnworth for our fourth leg at $2.05. And it would be remiss of me to leave out Connolly Lemuelu as our fifth leg there, $3.25. So we're virtually putting in 4 of the Dolphins because we're tipping the Dolphins 1-12 and 13 plus, even though it's in Perth. And I'm a massive Knights fan. I just can't see them on paper getting beaten here unless Newcastle have the perfect game. It's not impossible as long as the Dolphins don't get too cocky, because everyone's saying, "Oh, that's the best performance we've ever seen," and it can happen if you're trying to do that same game you did against the Cowboys. Knights aren't going to lay down. They're determined to beat you 2 times this year. So just watch out for that. So my mainstay here is Dolphins 1-12, but as a backup, I'd have Dolphins 13 plus. And if I had a third leg, I would also have Newcastle 1-12. But we haven't got that much money to throw around to have all these multis. Let's go down and have a look at the next game. So I'm tipping Dolphins there. And either way you want, 1-12 first, and then second, 13 plus. Next game there on Saturday night is 7:30. Is that 7:35? Yeah, 7:35. This is a tough one for South. South versus Melbourne. And is that also over in Perth? Let's have a look on the NRL website. No, that's in Sydney. Accor Stadium. So it's $4.10 for South and $1.24 for Storm. Team list, I'm sure that most of the Storm will be playing from the Origin. Latrell Mitchell back at fullback captain, and Captain Harry Grant for the Storm. Ins and outs is important. Of course, there's a few extra players in here. Jacob Host, Cody Walker is in. I thought he was out for a while with his injury. Campbell Graham is back in. He's a great defender, Campbell Graham. He's had a bit of a mixed bag of fruit this year, but it was great to see him back on the field, probably second or third match back in, and he started defending his heart out again. Ins for Storm is Alec McDonald, Joe Chan, Kane Bradley, Keegan Russell Smith, Vaialapu, Lazarus, and Fa'alonga is also in. So that's interesting. Jai Gray is out for the South, and Jaden Sullivan. So let's pick our anytime try scorers here. Although Melbourne are travelling away from home, they're running fourth on the table, 14th South. Last time they met is in round 8. It was an 8-point victory, a 1-12 victory for the Storm, 24-16 over South. And let's have a look at the anytime try score here. I'll be tipping 13 plus for Melbourne. I think they're going to get it all together here. But don't be surprised if it's only 1-12. But I'll be starting my margins off at 13 plus for Melbourne, and a backup of 1-12. I won't be tipping South though. Okay. Will Latrell Mitchell stand up after the Origin? A couple of really good steal the ball he did in the Origin, and a couple of good tip-ons. But I expected a little bit more from him. But it was just the nature of the game, and it was such a wet pitch, muddy, rainy, constant rain, and mist. It was like calling gorillas in the mist. Speaking of mist, especially 7 or 8 metres away from the free-to-air TV. But anyway, let's get on with this match. Xavier Coates opens up the banking at $1.60. Grant Anderson, $1.65. Too skinny for mine. Fa'alonga, $1.65. Yeah, you can chuck him in. Pappenhausen's even a little bit skinny at $1.70 there. He let us down so badly last time. We had 4 or 5 3-leg parlays and 2-leg parlays needing him to score. It killed us. Jerome Hughes didn't let us down last time. So what we're going to do here is stand out Jerome Hughes at $2.75 as our banker. We're going to have our second banker, Elise Katoa, who also scored for us last time. So Jerome Hughes as our main banker, our second banker, Elise Katoa. Then we're going to go across here to South. I've got a feeling I do have a feeling here Ewan Aiken will score at 475. Ewan Aiken, 475 there, third leg for South. Fourth leg for South, it would be remiss of me not to chuck in Tyrone Munro. He got us a nice anytime try scorer last week and saved our face a little bit. Tyrone Munro at 230 there. The fourth leg, and spinning it back towards Melbourne here. I'm going to go for a little bit more value here with Ryan Pappenhausen. He let us down last time. It's his time to save face for EPAW. $1.70 there. I don't want to take Coates at $1.60, nor Grant Anderson at $1.65, or Fay Logo at $1.65. It's just not good for value. So there you go. There's that game done and dusted. And let's get to the next match. And this will be the 3 Sunday matches. And then we're finished here on EPAW'S episode 30 today. So let's have a look. And that last game, 7:35, the first game, make sure this doesn't sneak under your guard, at Suncorp Stadium is Broncos versus Cronulla at 2 o'clock. Broncos $1.50, Sharks $2.58. This is a rivalry from many, many years, this game. Let's have a look at the team list and who's in and who's out. Be interesting to see who's in. In for Broncos is Ben Tolty, never heard of him before. Blake Mozzer, Dane Mariner back. That's Dean Mariner or Dane Mariner, how you want to pronounce it. Jack Grabowski is back. Haven't heard of his name for a while. He's been sidelined, I'd imagine. Jaden Hunt is back, and Selwyn Cobbo is in also. In for Cronulla is Billy Burns, Chris Varlea, and then we have Puru. Haven't heard of him before. Hohepa Puru. Jaden Beryl for South In, and Niwai Puru. And the brothers there, the Puru brothers. Wow. The Pacific Islanders are really coming through all the sides, aren't they now? And Marui Harodi is out, and also for Sharks and for Broncos, Benjamin Tikura. Oh, he's an outstanding player. I think he twisted his ankle or did something with his leg last time. He scored a phenomenal try, and he's one of my guys I've stamped with watch for the future, Benjamin Tikura, an absolute giant. Do you think Payne Haas is dangerous? This guy, once he gets some experience like Payne Haas, watch out for him. Okay, let's go straight across to the TAB. I can't be tipping Cronulla, though I think it's going to be a close match. I think the danger for, and I'll say this, I'll honestly say it, I think the danger, although it's at Suncorp Stadium, so they're going to get a lot of advantage, the Broncos, the danger for the Broncos is getting a little bit cocky after that win last start. They need to prove to their fans and their followers that they can go back-to-back and beat a possible final 8 team like Cronulla, even though Scotty would call them pretenders. I don't think they're going to totally lay down here like what happened to the Broncos side they defeated last start. So let's go to the TAB and see what value we've got here. Just to save face here, I'm going to tip. I'd like to tip Brisbane 13 plus, but I'm going to go both sides here, 1-12, 1-12, because I think it's such a grudge match. This one, Cronulla versus Brisbane. There'll be a lot of hatred there, and I think there'll be a bit of bastardry there for sure in this game. Maybe a couple of sin binnings. That's my tip for you. Running 5th on the ladder, especially if it's not going the Broncos' way or it's not going Cronulla's way. I think there's going to be a little bit of aggression in this match. There's some big boys both sides of the pack. Fifth, Cronulla on 18 points, only 2 points in front of Broncos seventh. So it is a desperate match for both of them. Last time they played up at Suncorp, it was a 10-point victory to Cronulla in round 14 last year, 22-12. I think that was when Broncos were going through their crappy patch in that year and when they were starting to think of getting a new coach. To score a try here, 1, 2 try scorers here. We don't usually like tipping a +2 try scorer here. If you want to put it in like the Hammer did on Wednesday, you're going to get a little bit more value for sure. But we're just going to keep to the easier stuff here on EPAW. Jesse Arthurs leads the bank here at $1.70. Selwyn Cobbo $1.80, a little bit better value. Same with Mariner $1.80. Karapani, I'm a big fan of this guy, $1.85. We might swing back to him. I'm a big fan of Karapani. He's an absolute giant of a kid. Ronaldo Mulatalo, $1.95. A little bit skinny there, but probably better than what you usually get him, especially when they're playing at Shark Park. Giramat Shibasaki didn't let us down last time, but unfortunately he was the only try scorer we got for the Broncos last time they played and whacked the other side. Katoni Staggs, 260. Yeah, we let him go last time and he cost us dearly. Britton Nakora went over for us last time at 310. And Jordan Ricky, 375, hasn't scored for about 5 or 6 matches. Braden Trendle, 375. If there's a lot of loose ball, you always got to watch out for Braden Trendle. That's why they call him tricky. He's just on the edge there, and he'll be usually doing the bombs, and he can regather his own ball or get the loose ball, and he's very nifty when there's a loose ball on the ground. Payne has 5-1, Smoothie 5s. Most of the forwards are going to be 5s and better, right out to 10-1. McGuinness 750, scores once every blue moon. Fanua Blake, geez, he's let us down the last 3 matches. The 2 times we didn't have him, he scored, and the 3 times we've had him, he didn't score. So it's always a killer, that. Talakai, $4. I'm a big fan of CFO Talakai. He's just a work animal. I think he's even a little bit fitter than Adam Fanua Blake. But if Fanua Blake's given a flat ball, he's not just going to score not running onto the ball. You need to put him into a gap like the Warriors used to do when he played for the Warriors. Then he's most effective. So they need to work that out, Cronulla, if they're going to make better use of the big fella, Aiden Fanua Blake. Reece Walsh is an even better value here at 210, but I'm not going to lead out with him. Ezra Mann at 235. Let's lead out with Ezra Mann here. He didn't score last game, but I think he's got a point to prove, even though he was only as a reserve for the Origin. 235, he'll be the fresher one out of all the players. 235 is our banker there, Ezra Mann. And then we're going to go over to, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it. Let's put the kid in there for our second banker at $1.85, Karapani. I just think that'll solidify quite a few of the doubles, even though we don't usually like having a lead leg in there at odds on. I think this kid's got the whole future in front of him, like Connolly Lemuelu for the Dolphins. I don't want to jump on Katoni Staggs' back because I know what will happen. Instead, we're going to go for Britton Nakora for our third leg at 310 because there's really good value there. Then we're going to head back over to Shibasaki for our fourth leg, 250, and most value there at $2.10. I'm tossing up between Sinoni Katoa for Cronulla at $1.95 and 210 for Reece Walsh. Let's chuck in Reece Walsh as our fifth leg at 210, and you can either have Sinoni Katoa or Mulatalo as your sixth banker and reserve. That's if you're in front from the earlier games, the 3 or 4 earlier games that we've already gone over. Okay, so let's go on to the next match. And this is the second last, the penultimate match, Sydney Roosters versus North Queensland. And where is this being played? I just want to make sure we're not missing that there's 2 or 3 Perth games. Let's have a look here at the NRL website. Okay, let's just change rounds. 20th of June. All right, yep, Roosters, and that will be played. That first game, as I said, make sure it doesn't get under your stopwatch or your alarm there. 2:00, very early there on the Sunday. 4:00, 4:05 for the Roosters and Cowboys. Let's have a look here. $1.44 head-to-head. Roosters, 2.80. Quite skinny, the Cowboys, but I think they're getting a host of players back from the Origin. Let's have a quick look and double-check that with the ins and outs. Wow, ins for Roosters. Angus Crichton, the look-alike of Hudson Young. Chad Townsend, Connor Watson back. Jake Elliott, Lindsay Collins. Geez, he had a big game in the Origin, defence-wise. Robert Toyer, not so handling-wise. Spencer Leniu, he tried hard. He got whacked a few times by his own teammate Collins. Tom Rodwell, his kid played well last night in the State of Origin. Xavier Va'a. In also for the Cowboys is Nanai. Didn't get much of a run in that Origin game the other night. John Bateman, Reece Robson. He's going to be a bit sore, I reckon. Ruben Cotter. God, he was an animal in the Origin. Played really well, I thought. Tom Dearden, outstanding game in the Origin. He was my man of the match, in fact, for what he did compared to Dale Cherry Evans. And Valami Valaya is also in. The outs for Roosters, of course, is Young because he's playing for Newcastle now. Egan Butcher and Victor Radley, HIA issues again. I just wish Victor would wear headgear. I know he's a hardcore nut, but it would have saved him from so many HIAs, but he always gets his head in the wrong place. And I just hope he's going to have a future. It used to happen to Kalen Ponga all the time, and Kalen Ponga was smart enough to start wearing headgear. Although it does sometimes block a little bit of your peripheral vision, and Radley likes to be able to get that loose ball away, he could have saved himself with a good headgear. Harry Young uses it as well. Harry Young and Vander for the Storm. Oh, unbelievable. We can make ourselves laugh here, but let's get on with it before it gets too late in this preview. Okay, let's go to the TAB. We need a laugh. It's freezing in Sydney. Oh, my God. Let's go and have a look at head-to-head. And last time they met, wow, the Cowboys won in a nail-biter, 18-16 at Alliance Stadium, or Allianz Stadium, however you want to pronounce it. Here, the market states that Mark Natanawazi is $1.60, Tupo $1.65. Geez, they're skinny. On debut, fancy going on debut, and Rodwell's come up at $1.80. Robert Darby 2-1. Geez, there's some skinny odds here. They're not taking any risk on the flanks. Murray Talagi 2.10. That's even skinny. James Tedesco 2.15. A little bit skinny. Braden Burns 2.25. Oh, they're getting tight, the old TAB. Jackson Purdue. It just keeps every week. I just feel like I'm being whacked in the head. Ever since they put Purdue into that the 5'8" position there next to Dearden, it hasn't worked. I'm sorry, young old coach from West Tigers. It just has not worked, buddy. Mr. Payton. Hugo Savala 375. Tom Dearden, 375. That's great value. How much legs has he got after the origin is the question. How much lactic acid did they expel from massage and some of the cool down treatments they do? You don't know. Jake Clifford 5-1. He let us down last time, but he has scored a couple of times for us as well. But because the Roosters, I don't think, will be laying down in this match, I do think the Cowboys may have a narrow advantage here. They've got a lot to play for. I'm really entertaining tipping North Queensland here, and they have had the wood on them before. Okay, let's lead out with a North Queensland player then. Let's lead out with Murray Talagi as our first banker, or Murray Talangi, 210. That's good value. We're not going odds on, as I promised you. But our second leg, we were allowed to go odds on, but we only did that specifically for Karapani for Penrith a couple of games ago. Robert Toya, I think, might play a little bit better than what he did in the Origin, and just that experience may give him a bit of an advantage. Jeremiah Nanai, I think, might have a bigger game. Let's check on Jeremiah Nanai for the second leg there. Scott Drinkwater for the third leg at 350. I'm giving you a good value here. CR Wong, we're going to put in there for the fourth leg for East. I'm entertaining Robert Toy at 275, but I want to come back and go a little bit skinnier here. And I don't want to give you Nawonga Nakawazi. I don't want to give you him or Mark Nawazi. I want to give you Sandon Smith. Sandon Smith, yes, he hasn't scored for some time. And we don't know how much time he's going to get on the field, but he's our fifth leg banker there. The only other one I would entertain would be Thomas Dearden for a sixth leg, along with James Tedesco, but that's up to you whether you can afford it. Let's head off to the last match. I'm tipping North Queensland there in a close one over the Roosters, 1-12. Parramatta and Gold Coast here. It's 2:15. Parramatta. Wow, this is a roll of the dice game, isn't it? The last game of the round. Gold Coast $1.70. 16th, it's second last versus last. 16th, Parramatta, 17th, Gold Coast. Both on the same points. Rightio. So let's go across and see who is in and who is out before we wrap up our presentation here today. And thanks for joining us. And even if you're listening to the tips for the weekend, make sure you can watch the replay anytime you want or listen to the replay like I do, and to ensure that I get the right tips on there. If you can't write them down, or type them into your phone really quickly, because we've given you great value so far. Probably the only unders we gave you was Karapani, only because I think I've got a massive opinion of the guy. So we were looking for the website there. Can we get it? We've just got to get back a page here. Parramatta. Where are we? And this game is at 6:15 on Sunday. Oh dear, it's taking a while to load up. This is the problem we had last time. This is really, really ordinary. I'll just close that page and try and reopen it again. All right, just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to get the NRL.com website happening again. We might have a little bit more luck this time. The buys are Sea Eagles, Bulldogs, and Dragons have the three teams that are having the buys. And let's have a look at the team list here. It's finally come up, thank goodness. Ins and outs. Charlie Geimer in for the Eels. Dan Kerr is in for the Parramatta Atlas men. Dean Hawkins, Donald Volkman, Loizu, Weirima Greig, and then in for the Titans is Fafita, David Fafita. That's interesting. coming out of the reserve grade, I'll imagine. Jojo Fafita, Mowayaki Fodawaiki, Sean Moloney, Tino Asamawali, and then Tom Weaver. And then we have out for the Titans, Josh Paxton and Arama Hall. So let's move over here. Just look at the lineup. Iongi against AJ Brimson. Yeah, this is anyone's match. Zach Lomax, God, I hope he's got his kicking boots on this time. Against Khan Pereira, who's been fantastic the last couple of games. Sami against Russell. Pretty evenly matched right across the park here. Foreign against Papali'i. Dean Hawkins against Campbell. So Campbell's gone to half there. Jamin Jolliffe against Jack Williams. I've got a big opinion of Jack Williams. He's been playing really good for Parramatta compared to what he did for Cronulla. Dylan Walker's the interchange, and Wayaniki is the Titans replacement. Also, Tino is 16, along with Wurumuru, Greg, and Maduri. Yeah, fairly even across the park here. Let's go to the TAB. And the last time they met, it was Gold Coast 24, Parramatta 16, so only 8 points in it. I'm perplexed to who to tip here. I really am. You would think Gold Coast, after winning so well last week against a side that had no excuse, you think they'd finally put it together against Parramatta. And, of course, they're missing Moses with that injury, so can't see them going down here, the Gold Coast. I really want to see both Fermor step up here. He's usually a prolific try scorer. He hasn't scored for the last 5 matches, but he's still skinny in the market. So we might leave him for the backside a little bit. Let's pick out someone that will score, but we're not going to start with odds on at all. And there's many prolific try scorers that are odds on here at $1.75. Khan Pereira leads the field. Jaden Campbell, 325. God, he's hard to catch. One on, one off, one on, one off. Really hard to catch. Chris Randall, I'm a big fan of Chris Randall, but I wouldn't be standing him out. Cleese has. A lot of these guys have not scored for a long time. Dylan Walker, how much time is he going to get on the field? Same with Tino F. Dean Hawkins, could he go over? Sean Russell. At least with Sean Russell, you're going to get 425. He's not your prolific try scorer, though he did score 2 games ago. Jordan Samrani scored those 2 weeks back-to-back and hasn't looked likely since. And Penasini hasn't gone over for a long time now. Because we're tipping Gold Coast 1-12 here, I have to stand out Philip Sami, who looked like scoring last week for us and would have been a gift had he gone over, but he was just angle tapped before the line. It was such a shame. So we're standing out Philip Sami as our first banker. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take one more risk with both. Hello? Yep, the media. All right. I'll just take those off because they're a bit of a delay now. We had a mad surge of electricity that nearly blew my head off. So both Fermor is the second leg there. I'll just turn those, because I'm getting a full delay now, I can hear like I'm in a big cave. I'll just turn the headphones off so we can't hear it, the monitor at least. So our second leg there, stand out, Beau Fermor. We're going to take one more risk with him, and then we're going to go across to Sean Russell. I'm going to put him in there because he's good value. $4.25 for Sean Russell, and he's on the fringe. Chris Randall at 4.25 for our fourth leg. And I've got a feeling Tino Fasa Omawali will go over here. He hasn't scored for some time, but after his big game in the Origin, we're going to chuck him in as the fifth leg there at 4.25. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. We did have a mad surge of power that went through my recording here. Hopefully, it didn't destroy the on YouTube recording, but it's now got a mad delay behind it. But I've continued on the recording just in case it didn't come out on the YouTube. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell down the bottom there once you subscribe to get all the notes and very important information of when we're online. Scotty Pearce-McLeod is calling the third Origin and decider with us. So that's going to be so exciting for both of us, bouncing off each other. One New South Wales Welshman against the crazy Queenslander in Scotty Pearce-McLeod. So there may even be a few punches thrown, no, verbally anyway. So he's coming up from the South Coast to call it with us. So that's going to be really exciting for the playoff and see how Scotty goes calling from the studio here, straight off the free-to-air TV. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, like, subscribe, give us comments because we'll get back to you straight away or as soon as possible as we get a notification that you've left a message. Until the weekend, may the best sides win, may the best tips win, and we've given you the best value tips there for the anytime try scorer, 2-leg and 3-leg parlays. Bye for now.